Welcome to the Rich Bitch Show. I'm your host, Kandice Lee, a soulful multi-six-figure business mentor helping you create next-level wealth and alignment in your life and business. I believe that having a high-quality business that delivers high-quality results will feed a life and future of wealth, health, happiness, and abundance from wherever you want in the world. I'm here every week to help you vibe higher, reclaim your power, and create the reality and wealth that you truly desire. So let's get started.
I couldn't help but notice you look very comfortable in your new home.
I feel at home. I haven't felt at home in like 3 years. So it's going well. We're on day 5 in the house? 4, 5, and it feels so good.
That's amazing. And what a journey it's been getting here, huh?
Oh my gosh. We need a book. We need a book. Oh, what a journey. Yeah. I feel like I've done so much self-reflecting and I've never felt so calm. I had movers here this weekend, my mom, my brother, and one of my best friends. And everyone's like, you just seem so chill. I actually feel so fucking chill. It's all good. I felt really supported, really resourced, and that had me doing so much self-reflection. Like Kandice 2 years ago would not have handled this move the way that this version of me did, let alone the fact that this is even my reality. I cried so many times, just even the fact that I grew up with a single mom and the last thing I ever wanted to be was a single mom. The last thing I ever wanted to be. And the fact that I can give them this quality of life and this level of security and safety just meant more than I have words to describe. I think that's what honestly choked me up the most this past weekend, moving in and watching them get settled. I had the kids for the move too, just to put the cherry on top. And it was seamless. It was amazing. And we all three of us say we feel so at home.
How incredible. That's wonderful to hear. Congratulations. Let's pull back the curtain for the folks at home. So we jumped there from, oh my God, I'm in a new house to, and I did it on my own. I did it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I did it differently than my parents. I've learned and grown involved through the generations. How did that come about? Was the separation the reason for the move? Was that something that happened before? Let us into the story leading up to this beautiful new home.
I love that. So, the separation is, I would say part of why. So the separation was actually, oh my goodness, 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow. It's been a
Trying to
while.
remember that it's been a while. And so I knew that our last place was not our forever. So I already knew that. And I think those of you that listen will totally get this, the energy side of it. When I moved in there, I feel like I never fully let myself settle because I knew I did not want to live there long term.
How long were you there?
It was 1.5 years.
Okay.
So longer than I actually expected, to be honest. But those of you that have ever house hunted know it's a journey. And I started to reach a point, honestly, where I was like, okay, well, do we just wait until next summer? Are we just going to stay comfortable for the winter? What's happening? And this house just happened to pop up and I happened to see it within a couple of hours. I viewed it a few hours later. We had a podcast that day.
Hell yeah.
Remember? And I came back, I was like,
I
feel like
do.
I found the house, the house.
You were all smiles that day.
Yeah. So it was, the kids hadn't seen it until move-in day.
Surprise.
But to go back to the question of what brought me here was just knowing that, okay, so anybody who's really been along for the journey, we get 4 seasons here in Canada and I struggle with about 2 of them. So it's currently snowing right now and it is quite beautiful. My fireplace is on, but for years, our family spent the winters in the South. So this was the concept of, I'm going to use the words, locking myself down in Canada took a minute. It took a minute. And once I realized that I wanted that place of safety and security and consistency for me and for the kids, and obviously not making any stories about it that oh, now we can't travel, but just because it's the 3 of us, or I can't travel when they're with dad, really catching those and working on those beliefs while I upgraded my own identity in the last 2 years was so supportive. And so that's where it really started this journey of let's find home here and remember that we create home wherever the 3 of us go anyways. And we very much feel that. So that's kind of what led me, to this point.
It's carrying your home with you and then just letting the external home find you and connect to the internal home.
Yes, and stop how many of you are obsessing over trying to make something happen? And I know we talked about this like episodes and episodes ago when we
Guilty.
talked about the manifestation of this house. But how many of you are like obsessing over something? Because I know my past self used to do that too, of like, well, I just want that result, that outcome, that thing, that relationship, whatever it is. And it's like I had to fully let go and be like, okay, well, what would it look like to have winter here if my house doesn't come up? Because I'm not looking to settle.
Mm.
So how am I going to support myself in feeling the way I want to feel given this in between, right? The void. As soon as I went to that place, what pops up?
A house.
So just that reminder too of like whatever you're trying to control right now, come back to you. Come back to what you actually want, why you want it. Feel those feelings.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about how leadership in your life has gone beyond just business, just relationships, and come all the way back to your identity and the way that you manifest everything in your life.
Everything. Because if it's not, for me, if it's not rooted in my values, I don't want it anyway. So oftentimes we like our ego comes into play, or we start wanting something because we feel like, well, we should be at the next milestone because Sally is, or Joey is, or whoever we're watching and comparing ourselves to. And when I stop and connect with what do I want? Why do I want it? What does that mean for me? I can get really, really grounded. And I feel like I do have this like more calm nature about me. Not everything has a charge. I don't make everything have a charge, but I also am like crazy ambitious at the same time and know what I want, right? So for me, I think
It's
what's
like your
helped
whole
the
brand.
most, there it is. So when it comes to actually creating the reality, because obviously this isn't the first dream home that I've lived in, but this is the one going forward. And anytime that I have manifested something really big in my life, it's always come from it's that thing that's connected to my values. And anytime that I have not manifested something that I thought I wanted was because it was not actually a part of my values or what I actually wanted to be experiencing long term. It was more so to fit in the moment or to feel like I was a part of my peers because most of my life, 9 times out of 10, I feel like the outcast. I'm the unrealistic
Mm.
one. I'm the one that's going against the grain in the weirdest of ways. And it doesn't make sense to most people. And I feel like there were times where I thought I wanted, I should have that because they have that, or I should want that because they want that. And I would disconnect from my values. And naturally, things wouldn't manifest. And instead, they'd work out in my favor in the long run to give me that ability to
Yeah,
reflect
yeah.
back and come back to myself.
Hell yeah. So the producers of this show have asked me to ask you questions about where your values came from, right? Really, they said, Kevin, get the story of Candice out here in the open, right? And so you talked about 9 times out of 10 in your past, you felt like the outcast, and it turned you
Yeah.
into the wealthy woman who lives this unrealistic life. But can you let us in on like maybe some stories or some experience of how that happened, maybe in like childhood or adolescence, where you started to feel like the outcast, as we all do, but then you flipped that into, no, I'm not the outcast, I'm the exception.
Yeah, I love that. This just made me even think about on the weekend. My mom made a comment to my son, who's going to be 10 in March, something about being a weirdo and like obviously in a loving way. And he's like, yeah, that's good. He goes,
Yeah, hell yeah. And not a lot of
I'm
10-year-olds would
having
see it that way.
I just chuckled and she's just like it caught her and I'm like, we're breaking that shit. So I think for me, I just grew up very projector like. I felt very misunderstood. I have my own sorts of childhood trauma. I experienced a life that I knew I never wanted my children to.
Mm.
And I just, yeah, you get it because at a young age, I just knew that I wasn't like everybody else, that I didn't desire things the way that everybody else did. I truly wanted more, but I didn't want like flashy more, although my life might seem flashy to some people, right? I wanted to connect. I wanted to have the time to connect. I remember in like 6th and 7th grade writing letters and talking about how I wanted to have time to travel. I wanted to be with my kids. I wanted to be there at pickup. I never had a parent pick me up at school.
Mm.
I wanted to do those things. And as I grew up and as I became an adult and I became a mom really young, I was 21 when I was pregnant and 22 when I had Brayden. And I knew right away, like that's the mom I was going to be, was connecting it to my values. And so I think growing up obviously always shapes us, and we can either become a victim of it, or we can turn that into more energy, right? And alchemize that into power and into beauty and into quality of life in my experience. So for me, it was just always reflecting and getting clear on, okay, well, what does that look like for them? What does that look like going forward? How would I want that to be? How would I want that to go? And how can I structure my life right now for that? So I was 19 when I started my first business, when I opened the salon. And I ran that for almost 7 years. And that was my first bit of like, well, I can't clock in for somebody else because, I want to have kids soon. Like, I just knew, I always knew what I want. I always knew what I wanted. And I wanted to make sure that I was structuring everything to support that. So as I went through the whole journey of just like learning and reconnecting, every decision I have made in my life in the last, I'm going to go ahead and say 10 years for sure, was based off of my value of quality of life. That value alone. What did quality of life mean to me? And making sure I was connecting every decision back to it. Quality of life meant having some time freedom, being able to take care of myself, having quality groceries in the home, buying the produce that I want, and sourcing the meat appropriately that I felt aligned with, being able to resource ourselves with our naturopath and with, you know what I mean? Like getting out of the box and out of the systems, being able to educate my kids internationally. Like that's what felt like quality. It wasn't always just making sure I had this many zeros in my bank account. You know what I mean? It wasn't always a dollar amount. And I feel like a lot of people might get that twisted when you're reading our content, because we do talk about money a lot. We do talk about sales a lot, but I'm like actually the least materialistic person, or the whatever however you'd label that. Like that I might know on it. And it's funny. So I get that comes up a lot, even with Megan. So my now like close friend and branding queen, let's call her. So she comes along for all the branding shots. We do B-roll, we do day in the life. You guys see all the content that we create together. And she's always like, it's just so funny because you've got this beautiful car and you never want photos in it or of it. And I'm like, no, it's not about this, right? It's the fact that I'm in a bikini at 1 p.m. on Wednesday hitting the beach until I get my kids. That's what it's about. So I really hope that this helps wake you up in your mission, honestly. I really want to say that, because it's so easy to get caught up in trying to be like them. But what if you got to be more like you? And what if you built your life to just get to have more and more and more of that? How beautiful would that be? And start unplugging from what everybody else is up to and what everybody else is doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's so much to unpack there. Also, a projector who rode the bus. So I guess that's why we're best friends. But
yes, it is.
let's get into let's put a pin in the mission, because I want to come back to this. And I love the way that this episode we have taken a little detour from the money and the business model, tangible strategies, to talk more about Kandice, the one that they all want to get to know, right? So let's talk about something weird about Kandice. Do you guys want to know what this woman eats for breakfast? Why don't you? I'm like, show of hands. Nobody's here. We're not shooting this in front of a studio audience. So
Lucky's in it. She's here for this conversation.
she's like, yeah, tell us what she eats.
Yeah. Give him, Mom. I'm a girl who enjoys her medium well done steak with a side of fruit and sometimes sourdough toast and peanut butter if I'm really feeling it,
Who does that, and why? What is this? And how does this, obviously, as you just said, this is a decision that is consciously made to tie back to quality of life. And I'm sure, you told me this 5 minutes ago, and I was like, what are you talking about? So let me and the audience in on, like, how does this tie back to quality of life?
Anytime someone hears this, so one of my other go-tos, like while we're on this like weirdo Kandice tangent, if I'm not having steak, guys, and try this out before you come at me and call me a weird, I mean, you can call me a weirdo, we don't care. We're all about being as weird as we can over here. But if it's not steak, it's usually salmon and sourdough toast. And that's like my second go-to. So I've always got a backup. We've always got a backup. This came from just getting crystal clear and trial and error, first of all. So like I am somebody who's going to try different things until I feel like, okay, this works for me, for my body, for my energy. And I'm all about optimizing all of that because I want to be overflowing into every area of my life. If I'm waking up and eating sugar-coated cereal, hopping on a call to support you inside of your business, your life, your identity, and I'm like crashing hard, my blood sugar is all over the place, I'm dysregulated, how is that of service to you? So like thank God I'm weird. It's like I show up, I'm nourished, I'm full, I'm optimized, I'm stable, right? I'm regulated, I'm energized and ready to go for the next 3-4 hours. And as I tried different things for breakfast, that's the one that was just like, I feel the absolute best. The absolute best. If I can top that toast with avocado with the steak, it's like we're having the best day. My daughter has now caught on and steals half my breakfast most of the time. So now we just make a little bit more. But that's something that's just become like so normal to me. So anytime someone hears that, they're like, you pardon? Like, that's so gross. As I moved, my best friend was helping me clean out my pantry at the old house, and somebody had brought in the kids a box of cereal, which my kids have never eaten. So my kids are kids who have never had cereal, come after me, whatever. And it was this expired box of cereal at the back of the pantry. And she's like, what are we doing with the expired cereal? I'm like, oh, great, perfect. That never got eaten. I put that, throw that out. And away we go. And that's because food, like how you source your energy, is going to be a dictation of how much you have to output. And you are what you eat. So I stopped making a story when I was in that journey, 4 years ago, of like really learning how to heal my body and optimize my energy and like heal and replenish my hormones, come back to balance, come back to me. Increasing my protein intake and making sure that I was doing that first thing in the morning was a non-negotiable, and I've never looked back since. Never.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I was hand raised in terms of like, yeah, I thought that was weird too. But like you said, I mean, your willingness to be weird and go against the grain and try new things to see what worked for you has led you to the life you have now. So tell us about how that connects, like how being weird has connected to your mission and how you help other people make money on their mission through your weirdness.
Through your weirdness. I like this because I've never gone this route with it, but I think your weirdness comes back to your ownership. And so my weirdness already has some of you being like, damn, I love that for her.
Mhm.
So some of you are already listening and be like, we love that you're eating steak. Some of you are like, I'm about to try that. I'm gonna go pull the salmon out from my freezer. You're doing something right now. And that's because you align with it. And you have values, you have things that you do that you think are, one, either normal, because I thought this was normal until I had people making like crazy faces at me. Or my mentor being like, Candice, why aren't you telling people about this? Because this is fucking epic. Your weirdness, your things that you do on a daily basis that make you you, that you stand for, are things that are going to resonate with your people. And the more that you can actually emphasize on what you stand for, what you stand against, or what you do to represent that, the more aligned, magnetic you're going to be, the more you're going to actually call in your dream human beings. And you're going to be having a community based on values instead of just an outcome. So I feel like I've shared this before, and I really want to highlight this one component. Your highest paying, dreamiest long-term clients aren't just hiring you because of an outcome. They're hiring you because it's based in a value that they resonate with. So all of my closest working clients and the clients I've had the longest hire me because I actually love the fact that insert blank. It's usually actually take care of myself every single day and have the time to do that. The way that I parent, the way that I value quality of life, the way that I center my business and structured it around quality of life. It's to do with the values. It's not just the educational piece. It's the fact that I've unapologetically owned why I do what I do the way I do it, in the weirdest of ways.
In the weirdest of ways. It's like
Weirdest ways.
the authenticity creates the connection, and the weirdness is just the manifestation of the authenticity because you're willing to be who you actually are instead of just trying to mirror what you think society or whoever else wants you to be.
Because do you remember? Okay, Kevin, this just brought this memory up for me. Do you remember we had a conversation? I remember we were in Voxer. I was driving, and you were like, I have a couple sales calls. It ended up being a 12K day for you.
How could I forget that?
Calls. And you're like, how do I go? We were talking about the energetics of sales when you were talking to them. And I said, transparency and authenticity. Those two words will go so, so far because they want to feel that connection with you. They want to truly feel like you get it, that you are a human, but also that you one can lead them to where they want to go as well. So it's like you can be transparent about what you've done or what you can help them do, but you're also being so authentic in who you are, because that's what people want more than ever. Think about it. You can search on Instagram health coach, and there's going to be a zillion of them telling the same 10 steps or 3 steps or same recipes or same tips about periods or hormones or gut health. But can you show up and take a stand for what you believe in and what you don't believe in, or what you stand against, or what you practice that most people are going to think is crazy, or that most health coaches are skipping out on? Can you be so authentic, transparent, but yet bold enough to own that side of things? And that, as soon as I see that, I know that's going to be the coach that gets highest paid every
Oh
time.
yeah. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Because I mean, it is, we've talked about this too, behind the scenes. Like when you get too formulaic about it, you start to just sound like everybody else. But when you come from your own unique experience, now you're finally talking about something that nobody else can talk about.
Yes. And we want to hear that because we've been consuming this content for how long now? Like it's not 2019 anymore. It's not even 2022 anymore. We're going into 2025, and most of us can get what we need for free, if I'm being completely honest. The educational piece, we can get that for free. So don't be another free fucking account. Be an account that makes them think differently, that has them feeling differently, that takes what they already are learning and puts it on a whole different perspective, that pulls the curtain back, truly represents what's possible for them and connects with them through authenticity.
I mean, that is so real. And I started to think about it, and then you just said it out loud, and I was like, yep, that's so true.
We're connected.
This whole coaching thing blew up like maybe 2018-ish. It was no longer just Tony Robbins and Jay Shetty. And so it's like we're 7 years into this Wild West industry now. And it is exactly as you said, like if somebody wants a question answered, they can find it. They can find it on TikTok, they can find it on Instagram, they can find it on YouTube. But what they can't find anywhere else other than your page is you and your story and your experience and your leadership.
Yeah. It's something to truly think about. One thing this is a funny story for you guys, since we're pulling the curtain back on just weird shit Kandice has done.
Please.
I can't even believe I'm about to put this in public, but we're doing it. So this summer, you guys know I'm like super guarded, boundaried. Okay. I have boundaries.
It's a healthy thing.
Quite the boundaries. It's healthy. My best friend is starting to reflect back to me of areas where it doesn't have to always be so brick walled. But this past summer, you guys know I was dating somebody because I shared it on my stories quite a bit.
I didn't even know that. So
you didn't. Okay. The dating man is in the house and did not know the secret. So I was dating this person, and
side eye.
Oh, it's a whole thing. And that's okay, because I learned a lot about myself while navigating that relationship. And that's the beauty of it. Not just that, but I also recognized my own patterns. I recognized where I needed to trust and listen to my intuition, which is why I'm single. But I had a branding shoot this summer. For those of you that were watching, it's the one where I'm in jeans. We took the car down to the beach, a couple beaches, and we just had fun for the day, because that's my brand. It kind of makes sense when we think about quality of life and freedom and the essence of who Kandice is. So here we were, and that was the plan. I was wearing denim jeans, bikini top, white sweater, shorts. We got the paddleboard out. Okay, we did a few things. And this said
look
guy,
like Florida, even if we're in Canada.
Yeah, seriously. It's my little taste of Florida, because it's 10 minutes away. It's my little place. But he's starts projecting onto me of don't you think you should be more put together? This isn't very elegant of you. Do you even know me? Do you what? So this whole time I had been trying to, anyway, I just caught myself. I'm wow, I'm trying to make you make sense of me and help you understand me. And you have no desire to truly understand me. And you're crazy threatened right now and insecure about what I'm doing. And we need to obviously try and navigate this. Obviously the navigating didn't go so well. But in that moment, I was wow, I could have folded and dropped my authenticity and picked up his projections and changed and become someone I'm not, or felt the need to, I don't know, try and please him, right? People please in a way.
You definitely could. That was an option.
That was definitely an option, and I chose single instead. But like I I want to share this because you're going to come up against, and it's not always going to be in that type of a setting, but my own parents have told me different things. Like, Candice, the whole realistic, your expectations of the world are so high, Candice. That's what my mom loves to say. She stopped saying that now. We've had numerous conversations, but that was a big thing for a while. I would, we would pick up the kids and travel for the winter, and I'd end up calling my parents and be like, "Yeah, we're in Florida. Like, we're gonna be here till May." It's like, Candice, you can't just leave the country. I'm like, well, I already did. Like, you can't just do that. I'm like, well, I'm here. Like, I can book you a flight. Like, do you want to come down? Right. But just all these little pieces, you have these opportunities where you can stay small and try to continuously like conform to what other people want you to be so that they're comfortable. That's all that is. Or you can come back to what is true for me and how can I create safety in myself to make sure that I see that through for me and then hold myself in it when they try. We almost like foresee it. So I already know before I pick up the phone, the projections are coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just am like, I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. And I just keep connecting to my truth, my truth, my truth. I'm really sorry that you feel that way. I'm really sorry that you feel that way. I'm over here like loving life though, just so you know, like I'm totally good. I really appreciate your care or your fear, but it's not needed.
And it
And
sounds like, sorry, go for it.
no, I want more of you to understand the power of you actually being authentic because it opens up. It's truly an invitation for everybody else. It's just a matter of if they're willing to take the invite, if they're actually willing to take it, open the envelope and do what's in that for them.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have such a deep level of compassion around it too, which I'm sure is practiced. I'm sure it didn't start like that. But the other option at the other end of the spectrum could have been to blow up, to be like, fuck you for
Right.
telling me what I can and can't do. I'm a powerful woman, da 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 da. Instead
Yeah.
of just staying grounded in being a powerful woman, you could have felt like you had to prove it to him, which you don't. And that's awesome
That's a
because it sounds
good
like too
perspective.
the way that you're saying, you're like, I know it's coming, but you're not saying that like a YouTuber who knows the hate comments are coming. You're saying it like, I'm going to move about and whatever comes up, I'm still going to be me no matter what.
Always. Yeah. And I couldn't imagine modeling that to my daughter. Like, imagine I had picked that up and started to change my whole brand to become someone who was like more elegant. And I mean, like, honestly, I think he would have been happy if he just stuck me up in a castle and that's where I lived the rest of my life. And I was just like, no, thank you. I'll build my own castle with lots of doors for me to come and go as I please. So if I would have picked that up and my daughter witnessed mom change for a man, that would be like all the work I've done the last 6 years out the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really do I appreciate the perspective because I never really thought about that. I probably, as my teenage self, would have thrown a lot of middle fingers. I did throw a lot of middle fingers, but I was very dysregulated. Whereas my life is really calm and like I am very, very sure about who I am, what my intentions are, that I have a really big, good fucking heart, and that I'm not being inappropriate and that I am being intentional. And, so I can have I think that helps with my level of compassion and understanding for where others might be when I trigger them.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. And if we can't have that compassion, we're not really as calm and evolved as we think we are.
True. Yeah, that's another good point. Yep.
I think
It
it's
comes and
amazing.
goes.
I think it's amazing how much your children have taught you. If
Oh
not
my gosh.
through their words, but like through you see yourself in them. You see you always see your daughter and your son is like these are just little Candaces. These are just little me's. And if
Yeah.
big me isn't keeping it together in alignment with even higher me, then these little Candaces are not going to get to be the little Candaces. They have their own names that I want them to be, or that they want to be, even
That they
deeper.
want to not even
Yeah,
want to be, that they're supposed to be.
that they have the
I don't
freedom to be.
Yeah, and they truly have. And that's when, honestly, my biggest accomplishment is not this fucking business or this brand. It's the fact that my children feel so safe to be exactly who they are, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing. Like they just have no need to conform or fit in. And Braden's at this age, so he's 9, he's going to be 10 in a couple of months, where I'm starting to watch it come in a little bit, right? A little bit of that, like, well, what will they think? And so it's just made so much space. I'm not just being that parent's like, oh, don't worry about what they think. I'm like, okay, well, let's go to the worst case scenario. Does that change what you want? Well,
Mhm.
no. I'm like, okay, well, then remember that about them too, right? And I'm kind of like removing the charge around it and helping him see that we're
Exactly.
all human beings.
Exactly.
And Yeah, yeah, they really do. Children are such a mirror, such a mirror.
And isn't that so wild that regardless of whether the business is wealth, the business is relationships, the business is health, at the end of the day, it's all about us becoming better people so that when we clone ourselves, those clones are better people. And then we can just like evolve as a society and as a collective. And yeah, this we took this in a whole new direction here, but thanks for bearing with us, folks.
They're along for the ride.
Hell
Again,
yeah.
if you're listening, jump in my DMs. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want more of. We're here. This is literally a show we create for you. So help us help you.
Okay, future millionaires, thanks for hanging out with me in today's episode. I cannot wait to hear your takeaways from it. If you haven't yet, take a quick screenshot and share this to your stories. Tag me so that I can shout you out for elevating and showing up for yourself. I want you to remember you were born deserving of a wealthy life, and now it's time to create it.